Book 3. 8 lines of 8 dancers apiece. Chapter 1. Confucius said of the head of the Kai family, who had 8 rows of pantomimes in his area, if he can bear to do this, what may he not bear to do? Chapter 2. The 3 families used the young ode, while the vessels were being removed, at the conclusion of the sacrifice. The master said, assisting are the princes. The Son of Heaven looks profound and grave. What application can these words have in the hall of the 3 families? Chapter 3. The master said, if a man be without the virtues proper to humanity, what has he to do with the rights of propriety? If a man be without the virtues proper to humanity, what has he to do with music? Chapter 4. 1. Lin Fang asked what was the first thing to be attended to in ceremonies. 2. The master said, a great question indeed. 3. In festive ceremonies, it is better to be sparing than extravagant. In the ceremonies of mourning, it is better that there be deep sorrow than a minute attention to observances. Chapter 5. The master said, the rude tribes of the east and north have their princes, and are not like the states of our great land which are without them. Chapter 6. The chief of the Kai family was about to sacrifice to the Tay mountain. The master said to Zan Yu, can you not save him from this? He answered, I cannot. Confucius said, alas! Will you say that the Tay mountain is not so discerning as Lin Fang? Chapter 7. The master said, the student of virtue has no contentions. If it be said he cannot avoid them, shall this be in archery? But he bows complacently to his competitors. Thus he ascends the hall, descends, and exacts the forfeit of drinking. In his contention, he is still the Chun Tzee. Chapter 8. 1. Tzee Shah asks, saying, what is the meaning of the passage? The pretty dimples of her artful smile. The well-defined black and white of her eye. The plain ground for the colors? 2. The master said, the business of laying on the colors follows the preparation of the plain ground. 3. Ceremonies then are a subsequent thing? The master said, it is Shang who can bring out my meaning. Now I can begin to talk about the odes with him. Chapter 9. The master said, I could describe the ceremonies of the Shah dynasty, but Kai cannot sufficiently attest my words. I could describe the ceremonies of the Yin dynasty, but Sung cannot sufficiently attest my words. They cannot do so, because of the insufficiency of their records and wise men. If those were sufficient, I could adduce them in support of my words. Chapter 10. The master said, at the great sacrifice, after the pouring out of the libation, I have no wish to look on. Chapter 11. Someone asked the meaning of the great sacrifice. The master said, I do not know. He who knew its meaning would find it as easy to govern the kingdom as to look on this, pointing to his palm. Chapter 12. 1. He sacrificed to the dead, as if they were present. He sacrificed to the spirits, as if the spirits were present. 2. The master said, I consider my not being present at the sacrifice, as if I did not sacrifice. Chapter 13. 1. Wang Sun Chia asked, saying, what is the meaning of the saying, it is better to pay court to the furnace than to the southwest corner? 2. The master said, not so. He who offends against heaven has none to whom he can pray. Chapter 14. The master said, Chao had the advantage of viewing the 2 past dynasties. How complete and elegant are its regulations! I follow Chao. Chapter 15. The master, when he entered the grand temple, asked about everything. Someone said, who will say that the son of the man of Sao knows the rules of propriety? He has entered the grand temple and asks about everything. The master heard the remark, and said, this is a rule of propriety. Chapter 16. The master said, in archery it is not going through the leather which is the principal thing, because people's strength is not equal. This was the old way. Chapter 17. 1. Tzee Kung wished to do away with the offering of a sheep connected with the inauguration of the first day of each month. 2. The master said, "Sizay, you love the sheep. I love the ceremony." 3. The master said, "The full observance of the rules of propriety in serving one's prince is accounted by people to be flattery." Chapter 19. The Duke Ting asked how a prince should employ his ministers, and how ministers should serve their prince. Confucius replied, "A prince should employ his minister according to the rules of propriety. Ministers should serve their prince with faithfulness." Chapter 20. The master said, "The Quan Su is expressive of enjoyment without being licentious, and of grief without being hurtfully excessive." Chapter 21. 1. The Duke I asked Sai Wo about the altars of the spirits of the land. Sai Wo replied, "The Shah sovereign planted the pine tree about them. The men of the Yin planted the cypress, and the men of the Chow planted the chestnut tree, meaning thereby to cause the people to be in awe." 2. When the master heard it, he said, "Things that are done, it is needless to speak about. Things that have had their course, it is needless to remonstrate about. Things that are past, it is needless to blame." Chapter 22. 1. The master said, "Small indeed was the capacity of Quan Chung." 2. Someone said, "Was Quan Chung parsimonious?" "Quan," was the reply, "had the san quei, and his officers performed no double duties. How can he be considered parsimonious?" 3. Then, did Quan Chung know the rules of propriety? The master said, "The princes of states have a screen intercepting the view at their gates." Quan had likewise a screen at his gate. The princes of states, on any friendly meeting between two of them, had a stand on which to place their inverted cups. Quan had also such a stand. If Quan knew the rules of propriety, who does not know them? Chapter 23. The master instructing the grand music master of Lu said, "How to play music may be known. At the commencement of the piece, all the parts should sound together. As it proceeds, they should be in harmony while severally distinct and flowing without break, and thus on to the conclusion." Chapter 24. The border warden at Yi requested to be introduced to the master, saying, "When men of superior virtue have come to this, I have never been denied the privilege of seeing them." The followers of the sage introduced him, and when he came out from the interview, he said, "My friends, why are you distressed by your master's loss of office? The kingdom has long been without the principles of truth and right. Heaven is going to use your master as a bell with its wooden tongue." Chapter 25. The master said of the Shao that it was perfectly beautiful and also perfectly good. He said of the Wu that it was perfectly beautiful but not perfectly good. Chapter 26. The master said, "High station filled without indulgent generosity, ceremonies performed without reverence, mourning conducted without sorrow. Wherewith should I contemplate such ways?"